Welcome to Midnight Murmurs, where dreams come alive. Join us on a mesmerizing journey through whispers of the silent woods, a captivating sleep story that will transport you to a world of enchantment and tranquility. Like, subscribe, and let the soothing tales embrace your nights with peaceful slumber. Don't miss out on the magical experience awaiting you. Hit that subscribe button now. Chapter 1: The Forbidden Path. With her heart racing, Haruka Nakamura stood at the edge of the silent woods. Her spine tingled as the dense forest loomed before her, shrouded in an unsettling silence. Its depths were said to be home to vengeful spirits, but she was unfazed. As she stepped into the enigmatic realm for the first time, determination burned in her eyes. A dense canopy of old trees, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, blocked the path ahead. With her senses perked up for every rustle and wind whisper, Haruka carefully made her way through the brush. The atmosphere became oppressive, as if it were laden with forgotten secrets. Long shadows were cast across the forest floor as she moved further into the heart of the silent woods, where sunlight was filtered through thick foliage. Haruka's steps stumbled as she focused on a historic stone inscription tucked away among a sizable oak tree's roots. Its surface had intricate symbols etched into it, weathered by time. They beckoned her in by appearing to pulse with an otherworldly energy. As Haruka approached the marker, curiosity and caution coexisted. She used her fingertips to trace the symbols as a surge of power coursed through her body. An ethereal and menacing voice started whispering in her head all of a sudden. It uttered in a tone that was equal parts curiosity and forewarning. Who dares tread upon this forbidden path? Haruka straightened, her gaze searching for the source of the voice. And then she saw it, a figure materializing from the mist, a phantom guardian bathed in a gentle, ethereal radiance. The guardian's eyes bore into her, as if peering into the depths of her soul. "I am Haruka Nakamura," she replied, her voice steady but filled with reverence. "I desire knowledge and the strength to meet the difficulties that lay ahead." The guardian regarded her silently for a moment, its form flickering like candlelight. Finally, it nodded, a faint smile playing at the corners of its translucent lips. "Very well, Haruka Nakamura," the guardian spoke, its voice now warm and resonant. "To acquire the knowledge you seek, you must confront your deepest fears and unlock the hidden powers within." Haruka's heart quickened, anticipation mingling with trepidation. She had known that her journey through the silent woods would test her resolve, but she had not expected this ethereal guide and the daunting task ahead. The guardian gestured toward a narrow path veering off from the main trail, its edges obscured by mist. "Follow this path, and within it you will find the trials that await you," it said. With a final nod of encouragement, the guardian dissipated, leaving Haruka alone in the dappled light. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenges ahead, and stepped onto the forbidden path. As she ventured further, Haruka's senses heightened, every sound and movement magnified. Whispers seemed to echo through the trees, carried on a spectral wind. She pressed on, her determination unyielding. The path led her to a clearing, bathed in an otherworldly glow. Inside the clearing, a succession of obstacles awaited, a tiny rope bridge dangling over a chasm, a wall of prickly vines, and a pool of inky blackness. Haruka realized that these problems were not only physical. These were mirrors of her anxieties and shortcomings, asking her to conquer them. At each hurdle, she addressed her doubts, her worries, and her vulnerabilities, pushing herself to the brink. Hours went into days as Haruka persisted, her body suffering and her soul challenged. Slowly, she began to perceive improvement, her confidence building with each hurdle accomplished. Eventually, she reached the end of the clearing, where a brilliant figure greeted her. It was a sign of her triumph over her own constraints, and she knew that she had emerged stronger and more resilient than ever before. Chapter 2: The Ghostly Guardian. The air got cooler as Haruka traveled deeper into the silent woods. The whispering breeze conveyed a haunting tune that resonated within her, arousing both amazement and terror. The forest seemed to come alive, its ancient trees leaning in closer, as if eager to witness her journey. With each step, Haruka's anticipation grew. She sought to unravel the secrets that lay hidden within these woods, to discover the truth about herself and her purpose. And then, as if summoned by her unwavering determination, a figure materialized before her, an ethereal presence that sent shivers down her spine. The ghostly guardian stood tall and radiant, draped in a flowing robe that seemed to shift and ripple with spectral light. Its eyes, luminescent and piercing, held a wisdom born of centuries. Haruka's breath caught in her throat as she beheld this otherworldly being. "You have ventured far, Haruka Nakamura," the guardian spoke, its voice a soft echo, as if carried on the wind itself. "But before you can proceed, you must face your deepest fears and unlock the powers that lie dormant within." Haruka's heart raced. She had expected challenges on her path, but the gravity of this trial struck her. She knew that to succeed, she must confront the shadows that haunted her soul. The guardian gestured toward a mist-shrouded clearing where shadows danced like specters. "Within that clearing, your fears await," it said, its voice imbued with a mix of solemnity and encouragement. With determination etched on her face, Haruka stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the ethereal clearing. As she entered, the mist thickened, wrapping around her like a veil, obscuring her surroundings. She felt a presence, an unseen force that watched her every move. And then, from the darkness, figures materialized, phantoms of her past, specters of regret and doubt. They taunted her, their voices filled with venomous whispers that echoed through the clearing. Memories resurfaced, wounds long buried threatened to reopen. Yet, Haruka stood tall, refusing to be consumed by her own fears. Taking a firm breath, she pulled her katana, the blade glittering with intent. She confronted each apparition head-on, participating in a dance of steel and soul. Every punch brought with it a will to conquer, to break free from the constraints of her history. Amid the hardships, she witnessed flickers of light, a recollection of her loved ones, the warmth of a smile, and the power she had inside her. Slowly but surely, Haruka began to understand that her true power lay not in denying her fears, but in embracing them, learning from them, and transcending them. As the last specter dissolved into the mist, the clearing brightened, and Haruka found herself bathed in a soft, ethereal glow. The guardian reappeared before her, its features softened with approval. "You have faced your anxieties with unflinching resolution," the guardian remarked, its voice now filled with pride. "You have awakened a power that lays latent within you, the potential to transcend darkness and brighten the way ahead." Haruka's gaze met the guardian's, thanks and resolve blazing in her eyes. She understood that she had taken the first step on a transforming trip, one that would mold her fate and empower her to face the deadly killers that awaited her. With renewed determination, Haruka bowed to the guardian, expressing her thanks for its leadership. And as she stepped out of the mist-shrouded meadow, she realized that she had become more than she had ever imagined, a warrior whose soul burned bright, ready to confront the difficulties that lied ahead. She strode with a newfound confidence, believing that she held the strength to overcome any challenge and emerge triumphant. Haruka had unlocked her real potential, and nothing could stand in her way. Chapter 3: Shadows of Betrayal. Haruka Nakamura's heart beat as she plunged further into her training amid the silent woods. The weight of the phantom guardian's words still lingered, resonating in her head. She realized that her road was not only loaded with external hurdles, but also with the enormous job of uncovering the shadows of her own history. When the sun fell below the horizon, sending lengthy shadows across the woodland floor, Haruka sought shelter in a tiny clearing. She closed her eyes, letting the sounds of rustling leaves and distant chirping birds to flood her senses. Among the peacefulness, memories awoke, threatening to engulf her. Images of a period long gone flashed before her, the face of a mentor she had once trusted, the comfort of friendship broken by the pain of treachery. It was a terrible secret she had kept deep within her, but now, as she faced her mission to beat the vicious assassins, the truth tugged at her heart. Eager to confront the shadows that tormented her, Haruka began on a journey for answers. She sought for the ancient elders of a neighboring town, whose knowledge of history and hidden secrets was known across the region. The village elder, an old woman with deep wrinkles carved into her face, welcomed Haruka with a knowing grin. "Child, I have sensed your struggle," she continued, her voice bearing the weight of knowledge. "But be aware, the truth may be a double-edged blade, piercing through illusions and shattering the foundations of confidence." Haruka nodded, her eyes unwavering. She recognized the dangers, but she also realized that the truth was the key to unleashing her entire potential. The elder brought Haruka to a sacred hall decorated with old scrolls and treasures. Within its sacred walls, the past awaited its resuscitation. Together, they unraveled the complex tapestry of treachery, piece by excruciating piece. Haruka learnt of a period when a hidden group, known as the Shadowsbane, had invaded her community. They had converted trusted allies into traitors, twisting loyalties with cunning precision. Among others who had fallen to the Shadowsbane's power was Haruka's mentor, the exact person who had cultivated her abilities and turned her into the fighter she had become. The discovery struck Haruka like a blow, threatening to shatter the core of her determination. Yet she refused to let sorrow engulf her. Instead, she accepted the truth as a weapon, honing her determination to a razor's edge. Days stretched into nights as Haruka submerged herself in the village's rich history, her mind a sponge absorbing every detail. She looked through ancient texts and listened to the tales of survivors who had managed to escape the clutches of the Shadow's bane. On her search of justice, she uncovered a piece of hope, a map pointing to a secret temple deep beneath the silent woods. Tradition told that beneath its holy halls lay a weapon of enormous power, capable of expelling the Shadow's bane and restoring balance to the universe. With the map grasped tightly in her hands, Haruka bid farewell to the village elder, thankfulness beaming in her eyes. Her destiny was set, a hazardous voyage awaited her, laden with danger and uncertainty. As Haruka traveled back into the heart of the silent woods, the weight of betrayal no longer plagued her. It had transformed into fuel for her determination, strengthening her resolve to eradicate the shadows that threatened her world. The moon rose high over the woodland, throwing an ethereal radiance upon the way ahead. The struggle against the vicious assassins awaited her, and inside that conflict, Haruka knew she would find atonement not just for herself, but for all those who had suffered at the hands of the Shadow's bane. Taking a deep breath, she went forward, her gaze set on the distant temple. Her adventure was far from complete, but with optimism in her heart and the map as her guide, she was ready to face whatever was ahead. Chapter 4: Dance of Shadows. The moon bathed the silent woods in an ethereal glow as Haruka resumed her exercise, her focus unbroken. With each passing day, her talents polished, but her quest was far from complete. The path of the shadow dancer awaited her, a delicate and lethal craft she was determined to learn. Under the guidance of the enigmatic samurai master, Haruka delved into the subtle moves of the Dance of Shadows. The master's teachings were esoteric, given through limited words and exact examples. It was a dance that needed both physical strength and the mastery of one's inner darkness. In a remote area deep amid the trees, Haruka stood, her figure poised and ready. The master's voice resonated in her head, reminding her of the art's core. To become one with the shadows, you must let go of all prejudices, all fear. Embrace the darkness within and let it lead you. At each stride, Haruka melted into the dusk, her motions flowing and elegant. Shadows engulfed her, moving and twirling as though alive. The dance of shadows allowed her to become a phantom, a tiny wisp in the night, elusive and lethal. The master's voice echoed throughout her, directing her every action. The skill of the shadow dancer resides not only in hiding but in deceit. A single stride might mislead your opponent into a false sense of security. A glimpse of movement might make someone mistrust their own perceptions. Haruka assimilated the wisdom, internalizing it with each repeated stride. The dance requires accuracy, timing, and an acute awareness of her surroundings. She learned to walk without sound, to blend into the darkness smoothly, leaving no evidence of her existence. As the moon rose higher, producing long, spooky shadows, Haruka's training increased. The instructor presented her to the array of weapons employed by the shadow dancers, a collection of throwing knives, hidden blades, and a slender, razor-sharp whip. With each weapon, Haruka accepted her position as a quiet predator. She learned to wield the blades with deadly accuracy, their trajectory guided by intuition. The concealed blades were an extension of her body, hidden until the instant they hit, and the whip became a weapon of both offense and defense, its coils twirling through the air, lashing out with precision. Days progressed into weeks, and Haruka's proficiency developed. She could travel the deep woodland without leaving a trace, her footsteps hushed by the dance of shadows. Her blows were rapid and decisive, leaving her opponents stunned and defenseless before they could realize the peril that had befallen them. Yet the dance was not merely about physical strength. It needed a delicate balance of mind, body, and soul. When Haruka immersed herself in the art, she found herself confronted with the darkest parts of her own psyche. The dance of shadows drove her to face her inner demons, to accept the anxieties and doubts that threatened to block her development. In the calm of the night, Haruka sat in meditation, her eyes closed, her breath steady. She dived into the depths of her being, discovering the memories and feelings she had long denied. She tackled her concerns head-on, admitting their existence, but refusing to let them define her. By this contemplation, Haruka discovered strength. The shadows that had previously held her captive became her companions, the dance shifting from a basic physical skill to a monument to her perseverance and inner might. As she awakened from her meditation, the teachers stood before her, a sparkle of pride in their eyes. "You have accepted the dance of shadows, little one," they whispered, their voice a whisper on the wind. "But remember, genuine mastery comes not from overcoming your opponents, but from mastering yourself." Chapter 5: The Labyrinth of Illusions. Haruka's pulse beat in her chest as she ventured into the strange labyrinth that lay concealed within the silent woods. The air was thick with expectation, and a sensation of foreboding overtook her. The way ahead was covered in darkness, the sole source of light emerging from the ethereal glimmer of her lantern. As she traveled farther into the maze, the world around her moved and twisted, playing tricks on her senses. The walls seemed to shift, transforming into monstrous forms that threatened to devour her. Haruka relied on her strong instincts and trained talents, navigating through the illusionary maze with caution. Voices sounded in the distance, murmuring hazy things that seemed to mock and tease. Haruka attempted to make sense of them, her brow furrowing in concentration. The shouts became louder, whirling around her like a maelstrom, but she refused to let them distract her. She understood that submitting to the delusions would lead to her destruction. With each step, the labyrinth challenged her perspective of reality. Shadows flashed and flickered, mirroring beings that darted in and out of her view. Haruka's eyes flew from corner to corner, her senses on high alert, as she sought the way that would bring her to freedom. The maze appeared alive, a sentient creature intent on testing her willpower. It twisted and swirled, its passageways interminable, providing no rest. However, Haruka continued on, her desire unflinching. She had come too far to turn back now. As she navigated the labyrinth, she encountered apparitions, ghostly figures that materialized before her only to vanish into thin air. They whispered secrets and riddles, their voices a haunting melody that sent shivers down her spine. Haruka listened intently, for she knew that buried within their words lay the clues she needed to unravel the labyrinth's enigma. The spirits spoke of sacrifice and courage, of facing one's deepest fears and emerging stronger. Their words resonated deep within Haruka's soul, stirring a fire within her that burned brighter with each passing moment. She refused to be consumed by fear. Instead, she channeled it into a fierce determination to overcome the labyrinth's illusions. Hours turned into days as Haruka ventured deeper into the labyrinth's depths. The passage of time became a mere abstraction, an idea lost amid the maze. She met traps and pitfalls, their ingenious designs aimed to catch and entrap. Yet her agility and quick thinking allowed her to elude their grip, always one step ahead of the labyrinth's trickery. At long last, she reached a chamber bathed in an otherworldly glow. The air crackled with electricity, and the walls seemed to throb with a secret force. In the center of the hall stood a giant statue, a majestic figure with eyes that sparkled like stars. When Haruka neared the statue, a voice boomed across the chamber, echoing in her head. "To leave the labyrinth, you must face the reflection of your true self," it said, its words ringing with ancient knowledge. She peered into the statue's eyes, her own reflection reflecting back at her. Her breath caught in her throat as she saw herself not as she seemed on the surface, but as she actually was, a combination of power, resilience, and fragility. In that moment of self-realization, the illusions that had tortured her throughout the labyrinth crumbled, vanishing into thin air. A burst of strength coursed through Haruka's veins as she walked forward, the route before her exposing itself. With fresh clarity, she strode through the labyrinth with purpose, her movements confident and assured. The walls that had previously changed and twisted now remained motionless, and the traps that had formerly endangered her safety now looked inconsequential in the light of her newfound might. Haruka emerged from the maze victorious, her real self blazing bright and triumphant. Chapter 6: Battle in Moonlight. The moon shed its pale glimmer over the old battleground as Haruka stood poised, her body a coiled spring ready to strike. The air crackled with expectancy, and the fragrance of imminent peril lingered heavy in the night. Opposite from her, the gang of vicious killers crouched in the darkness, their eyes blazing with malevolence. Haruka tightened her grasp on her katana, her fingertips tracing the cool steel. Her training had prepared her for this moment, a culmination of sacrifice, perseverance, and unflinching commitment. She had refined her talents, accepted her inner power, and now she would meet her foes head-on. The assassins came from the darkness, their bodies hidden in a veil of blackness. Their movements were rapid and quiet, a tribute to their lethal expertise. Haruka's heart hammered in her chest, a steady cadence that mirrored the throbbing intensity of the battlefield. Without hesitation, the first assassins surged forward, their swords slashing through the air with lethal accuracy. Haruka's instincts kicked in, and she moved with the elegance of a dancer, sidestepping the attack and countered with a rapid stroke. Steel smashed against steel, the sound ringing through the night. While the conflict continued on, Haruka's senses sharpened, sensitive to the smallest shift in the wind, the faintest sound of oncoming danger. She glided with a dancer's grace, smoothly merging into the starry shadows. Her motions were a symphony of planned steps and smooth strokes, each one done with precision. Throughout the commotion, Haruka's mind stayed concentrated, her ideas clear and steady. She had a purpose, a destiny she was resolved to accomplish. With every opponent she eliminated, she got closer to that ultimate aim, a fate interwoven with the destruction of those who intended to inflict darkness upon the nation. When the moon rose higher in the sky, its silvery light drenched the battlefield, lighting Haruka's face. In her eyes flashed a fire fed by perseverance, passion, and the weight of her history. She battled not only for herself, but for the innocent souls caught in the crosshairs of a merciless vendetta. The assassins, however competent and relentless, found themselves outmatched by Haruka's steadfast will. She anticipated their maneuvers, parried their assaults, and unleashed her own lethal counterattacks. Each clash of swords was a tribute to her training, her progress, and her unshakable desire. Throughout the struggle, a voice penetrated the chaos, a voice filled with hate and malice. It was the commander of the assassins, a person wrapped in darkness and draped in a garment of deception. "You cannot escape your fate, Haruka," they hissed. "Your destiny is sealed." Yet Haruka's answer was adamant. "Destiny is not a predetermined route," she proclaimed, her voice reaching across the battlefield. "It is molded by our choices, and I choose to fight for justice, for the light that may dispel even the darkest darkness." With those words, Haruka pushed herself into a flurry of action, her sword a blur of steel. The assassins, once cocky and secure, crumbled beneath the weight of her determination. One by one, they fell, their aspirations shattered by the steadfast resolve of a fighter who refused to submit. And when the final assassin dropped to the ground, defeated and shattered, Haruka stood strong amidst the starry battlefield. Her breath came in ragged gasps, her body damaged and wounded, but her spirit remained unbroken. She had won over the darkness, rising as a light of hope in a world tormented by evil. For Haruka, there was no such thing as an irrevocable fate. She had demonstrated that with her own strength and resolve, she could design her own destiny and make a difference in the world. And with that notion firmly entrenched in her heart, she would continue to fight for what was right, no matter the cost. Thank you for joining us on this enchanting adventure through whispers of the silent woods here on Midnight Murmurs. We hope this soothing sleep story has transported you to a world of tranquility and relaxation. If you enjoyed this journey, remember to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to Midnight Murmurs for more captivating sleep stories, and hit that notification bell to never miss a magical tale. Until next time, may your dreams be filled with serenity and peace. Sleep tight and have a wonderful night.